All right, well, let us get rolling. Here we are. Welcome back to the Rushfield Lunch, our weekly conversations with the great thinkers and artists of our time, loosely organized around the question of what the hell is wrong with everybody these days, but attacking that through various approaches and various expertises and things going on in our world. Today, I have my good friend, great journalist, the chief film critic of the Toronto Globe and Mail. Do I have that right?
You got it right. Exactly.
It said that very well. First time I got it right. Someone's full title right. So that uh, Barry Hertz is here. Does that make you Canada's highest ranking film critic? Are you?
We don't really keep like a ranking necessarily, but it's just me and one other guy, so we're constantly kind of tussling it out. But yeah, right now I have the slight edge.
Toronto is bigger than Montreal, though, right?
Toronto is bigger than Montreal. It's
So you are the chief film critic of the 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 newspaper of the biggest city in Canada. So that makes you Canada's highest ranking film authority, I think.
I suppose, yeah, for English language at least. Let's maybe not tell the Quebecois what's what, but
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, before we get into this, we have a lot to talk about. I want to talk about the elephant in the room here, which is you are from Toronto.
yeah.
I am from Los Angeles.
Hmm.
Our cities met this in the last couple of weeks in a little, what do you call it? Contretemps, intramural
Yeah, a little
festivities.
interdivision. Yeah, yeah.
Um, how are you all doing?
We're very sad. But this is
I'm very, very sorry, Barry.
I don't take it personally, Rich. This is just kind of the natural state for Toronto. Generally, just like this kind of like air of, mild depression. But it's been a rough go for us, especially at the hands of Los Angeles.
does does
You took down Drake, and now you took down the Jays. Like it's
I, I would like to think. I mean, Toronto. I come up there every year. It's my home away from home for 1 week in September every year. At the Toronto Film Festival, and it's a beautiful, a lovely city that has been very good to me. So, uh, it was difficult to meet brother against brother in the field of battle here, and certainly if it had been almost any other team in baseball, I would have been rooting for you. But my duty to my city comes before all else. So uh, but is there a party that says, okay, the Dodgers are perhaps the greatest team in the history of baseball. So to come second to them, what an honor! What a great
um,
place for us to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's no part of me that feels that. I'm sorry. And I'm not,
That's
I'm not, I'm not even like a baseball like fan. Like I'm a very committed bandwagoner. I will jump on those final few games of the year, and the rest of the year is a total mystery to me. But I will still say no. No, I'm not giving an inch. That was a tough loss, and I only seek revenge.
um, understandable. Do you think I'm going to be Hollywood will be allowed back to the film festival next year, or will?
Oh, I mean, we'll roll out the red. Like, we'll give you everything. Toronto would sacrifice all of its Blue Jay players if Hollywood came back to the film festival. It's
to
no question about that. So
to have Timothy Chalamet come up
to have
and
Timothy Chalamet, we would give you Mark Carney on a platter. Like you could
wow.
have, like Donald Trump could feast on him. Like we'll take Timothy any day.
I'm I got to think about that trade, whether that's
Okay, no,
whether
take it back to your representatives.
well, need to know about it. Chalamet could sing also. That's the thing. And so brings a lot into that
He can do it
exchange.
all. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. Um, but let's get to the matter at hand. Enough hijinks here. Um, you have written a incredible, uh, amazingly reported, heavily detailed book about perhaps the most consequential uh, franchise of this what do you call it, this of this millennium of the past 25 years. The you've written about. Could you hold it up, please? It's called
Yes, yes.
Welcome to the Family. The explosive story behind Fast and Furious, the blockbusters that supercharged the world, and are enormously consequential in ways that I don't expect, and um, have produced a soap opera on a explosive soap opera on screen, but perhaps equally as explosive and soap operatic off screen,
Mhm.
which you chronicle brilliantly. And so I wanted to get into all this because I think it has a lot to say about the state of our world. So for starters, nice Canadian boy uh, reviewing films there at Toronto, going to festivals and seeing, the latest Chloe Zhao film, Hamnet, and all this. How did you get sucked into your Fast and Furious journey?
It was a sucking in of my own making.
Yeah.
I love Chloe Zhao. I love Timothy Chalamet. I love all our art house faves here. But I think of myself as a big tent moviegoer, as I think you do too. Anything and anything is welcome on my screen. And uh, 25 years ago, or 25 years ago next year, I have very fond memories of watching that first Fast and Furious film as a teenager, sweeping up popcorn at my uh, after school job at a suburban Toronto multiplex.
Mm.
And I think that summer of 2001, I must have seen that movie cumulatively in bits and pieces, 3 dozen times. And I really just dug it. I can't drive for the life of me. Like if you give me a manual car, I will crash it if I'm able to even start it. And but there's something about watching other people do very dangerous and reckless things that I would never in a million years even dream of doing. Was it spoke to me. It spoke to me as a teenager, and then watching the films evolve from this like little B street racing movie into this globe conquering spy adventure with amazing stunts and crazy locales and huge egomania A-listers. I thought, well, first of all, these movies are just both, I love them sincerely and ironically. And then I started thinking, you could probably trace the past 25 years of Hollywood itself through the evolution of the fast films. So
And
that's kind of what hooked me.
and that is what you do. And yeah, I mean, for starters, it is kind of staggering when I read this and when you say it again that this is a franchise that has been going now for 25 years. So
Mhm.
um what only Bond and when did Mission Impossible get off the ground?
I mean,
That
this
was
this this mission was, I think, 98 was the first one, but
it.
there were serious lags in between
Yeah.
installments there.
So this is an incredible journey, and it's so getting into it as you allude, this was not Mission Possible started as the or Transformers or whatever you had started as the gigantic, spectacular, tentpole spectacle, and that was not where Fast and the Furious began. Can you tell us a little about that first film, which was uh, to read it was kind of shocking, and to go back and I watched it after reading the book, and it's kind of crazy how different it is from where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, it did start off as this really grounded, gritty, for lack of a better term, rip-off of Point Break with Keanu and Patrick Swayze. And it was always intended by Universal as what they call a programmer, just like it was going to be a little cars and fix movie for spring break, and maybe fill a couple couch cushions worth of change for them.
So sort of the descendant of B movies, like the not your big production, but the little thing that comes between the big things there.
Exactly. And former Universal Chair Stacey Snider put it very succinctly to me when she was like, she felt it fit very well into Universal's kind of history of making these like, you know, good, well-crafted genre movies that can come in, earn a good buck, not be an embarrassment to anybody, and, fill out the calendar until the summer season got there.
But the first one, small though it was, and small though the budget was, came in with kind of enormous ambition to do something different. That and what it came it came it was based on an actual article. So there's truth behind all this,
There is
and
a sliver of truth behind it.
what,
Yeah.
but it really they had a very earnest sort of desire for authenticity and kind of a street creds that you don't encounter in a studio film. Tell us about that a little.
Yeah, I mean, so director Rob Cohen, who was coming to this after working on The Skulls for Universal with Paul Walker as well, he was like, kind of a journeyman director, but he really wanted to speak to youth culture. That was his whole thing for his whole career. He was very tapped into that market and tried to like talk the language of whatever that day's young audience was. So he very wisely, went out and sought car consultants, people involved in the Southern California car culture scene, the underground scene, the modification scene that was going on there. And along with screenwriter David Ayer, who of course has gone on to be, a huge action movie director in his own right, really sought out those, untapped corners of LA car culture, talked to, the Vietnamese gangs that were kind of hacking fuel curves, the Asian kids who were modifying their parents' Hondas, and those scenes where we see them all in the first movie at night, kind of just crowded around, and women in very revealing clothing, stuff like that never really quite happened. But there was straight street racing, and there were kids who would gather late at night and just zoom off into the night in the San Fernando Valley, and Rob and David were very much heavily researching that element and made sure to put it on screen so that, this would appeal to both that demographic and it would feel authentic. It would feel genuine. It wouldn't feel like some kind of Hollywoodized version of a scene that didn't really exist.
Sorry, we have to. Sorry, I got the one moment here.
Oh, yeah.
We my phone my phone was hijacked. My phone was hijacked by an incoming call here. So let me. All right, can you hear me, Brad?
Okay. I'm good. We're
There
back.
we go. Okay,
Yeah,
we're back. I'm sorry.
that's
Uh,
okay.
Reminder to all of us: turn on your focus when you when you on your iPhone when you make one of these calls. I neglected to do that, but it, what did Universal think about we we want to capture all this the street racing? I mean, action films at that time were kind of in a post Twister world, weren't they? Was very kind of the authenticity wasn't really what
No,
they
I mean
strove.
we were just coming out of like the beginning of the Matrix era where we were really getting into the very high concept VFX, groundbreaking, innovative stuff, twisting reality for what it was. So yeah, but the Universal, I guess, kind of the backwards benefit of it being such a small movie, relatively speaking to what the films would become, is they didn't care. They didn't really pay that much attention to it at all. I think it was a $36 million film, which is not nothing, but
Incredible.
compared to what they cost today, or what anything of this kind of caliber might even cost today, it was an afterthought. So, director Rob Cohen was very much of the mind. He's like, nobody really asked me any questions or interrupted until that first test screening. So dailies were going out, but everybody was kind of a little bit too busy to pay any attention. And then
And that,
kind of the oh yeah, go.
I mean, one big element that came into this, and this is, I think, a big part of the franchise was that Fast and Furious was where people seemed like throughout its history where a lot of people came to sort of when their career was at a sort of middling point there, or
Mhm.
that where they came into to sort of jumpstart. And where was Vin Diesel, a man who looms large over this whole story
It
at
was
this
very
point?
large, Arvin. Yeah, I mean, the first film was built as a star vehicle for Paul Walker. He was the one who was attached to it at the very beginning because he had worked with Rob and Universal on the Skulls. They were looking to do to get something to do together. That was also with producer Neil H. Moritz, who has stayed on it for the entire time. So they were having a tough time kind of figuring out who would be the yin to Paul Walker's yang, and in comes Vin Diesel, who had, done, I think, surprised a lot of people with his role in Pitch Black that had come out just before, which was another Universal title, another very small kind of programmer thing where there wasn't a lot of anticipation or certainly budget put into it. He'd impressed people in small roles with Boiler Room and Saving Private Ryan with Spielberg. Um, and they needed somebody who was a little bit, enigmatic and maybe a little ethnically ambiguous and could kind of just balance out that all American blonde hair, blue eye Paul Walker element. And, at that time, he came relatively affordable. They paid him for just a little more than $1 million for that first movie. Paul Walker was definitely first filled, and Vin Diesel was, the second. And then, well, we all saw what happened after.
Yeah, what did happen with their chemistry and these characters when they started meeting? Because that is the one thing about the first film that really jumps out, that not only street racing, but that there's these you've got these two stars kind of playing for the playing swinging for the rafters there,
Yeah, yeah.
as they said.
Yeah, I mean, so they had a lot of, there was obviously like the chemistry between them was right there on the screen, but they got to it in very different ways. Vin, he was raised as this in this very artistic household. It might strike people to hear that now as like absolutely preposterous, but like he was, a theater kid. He was like a poet. He was the guy who put so much into his craft and wanted to rehearse, 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 wanted to tweak every single line. Paul Walker was there to have a good time. He was like, "Yeah, man, I'll say these lines and then I'll go drive a fast car and I'll go surfing and I'll make money for it. It'll be awesome." And Vin was just that more artistically minded soul. And, as the films evolved, well, and their participation flitted in and out, and their enthusiasm for these franchise wavered and waned, we would see a total reversal, and it would eventually become the Vin Diesel show. And he would, I mean, there's a certain point, certainly, fast forward to when they're making the third one, Tokyo Drift, and I'm skipping over all the contract negotiations that sunk part two. But they really wanted Vin Diesel to come back for this cameo at the end of part three. And basically, the way they got it, and there's a great anecdote in the book about hopping fences and biting dogs and all kind of studio subterfuge. But one of the conditions Vin wanted was, okay, I want to be a producer going forward on whatever comes next. And that gave him such a degree of creative and financial control over things that that's how that kind of system flipped there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine that Vin Diesel could be in any room for more than a few minutes without, or any group without becoming the dominant presence in that room, which he certainly did. So the first one is a how big a success was it? Smash hit, runaway giant hit, or
I,
or modest success?
I think smash it.
Yeah.
It made back its production budget and then some in its opening weekend, and that completely took everybody by surprise. And I should also mention that it was originally intended for that spring break audience, And after a test screening that they did, which went through the roof, Mark Schmugger, who was in marketing at Universal at the time, fought really hard to put it to the summer against what everybody thought was going to be the juggernaut of the summer of 2001, which was the Dr. Doolittle sequel
No,
with Eddie Murphy. And everybody was afraid of Doolittle. No,
yeah.
going up against Doolittle, that's
What
suicide.
the, you out of your mind going up
You
against
got
Doolittle? That's
Schmugger, you crazy son of a gun. And but he convinced it. He kind of staked his career on it, and yeah, it made I think 40 million plus that weekend. So it was a huge success. And then it went on to conquer the nascent DVD market and became
so yeah,
Universal's biggest selling DVD of all time at the time.
which was really driving so much of the industry at that point.
Mhm.
Um, Now, but so they have a big hit at the time. Sequels were still in the you weren't building tent poles to last 1,000 years. You were it was still the sequel math was you make a movie, you have a hit, so you get that group together again, and you do another one of those, and it will make 30% less. And then if you're lucky, you can do a third one, which will make 30% less of that, and that'll probably be the end of it. But you just
Mhm.
no one was thinking of you know, oh, this can we can get 100 films out of this. So they rush out a sequel, uh, and what happens there?
Well, they, as somebody says in the book, like everybody's heads got really big, really quick.
Mhm.
Vin demanded, somewhere upwards of $10 million to return. Not unreasonably thinking he was now the biggest, guy in Hollywood for a hot minute.
And certainly
Paul Walk,
certainly the biggest guy in Fast and the Furious.
certainly, yeah, yeah. And Paul, he was he was contractually obligated to do a sequel by signing on to the first and being kind of first in there. So he had to come back. There was a lot of negotiations. Eventually, Vin said, no, I'm protected, and kind of sold it in the press as I'm protecting the integrity of the first film. I want it to be a classic. I don't want to sequelize it and, ruin it in the
But it
canon.
did seem he kind of believed that when he was saying it.
He's a man of his own convictions, and he takes himself very seriously. And he also had another franchise that was calling for his name with Triple X, which he
Triple
was
X.
going to do with Rob Cohen, the director of the first film, and Neil Moritz, the producer of the first film. So
Not a bad movie, by the way. Oh,
not a bad movie, and
the first one deserved better than history's given it.
I agree, and spawned its own surprising franchise as well, which history also repeated itself, which Vin refused to do the second one, but eventually came back.
But the
Uh,
idea behind that a little it was going to be a extreme sports James Bond.
yeah,
Was
yeah, it was going
maybe
to
a
be
little
X Games James Bond. Yeah.
yeah. So but so Diesel is actually gone from the franchise for a couple. He's actually gone from a couple movies, which is also so much as it's hard to comprehend. And they rush out this film. It's a real step down from the first one. But so how does that do? How does it ultimately perform there?
I think it made just a little bit more than the first one. It topped out a little bit more than the first one, but it cost about, 1.5 to 2 times as much to make. Salaries were higher. They tried to be more ambitious, bigger set pieces. It just didn't really work.
But you still
So
see this DVD market, and
exactly.
that is fueling this, and that has to be fed. So, um, at other moments, were not for the DVD market, they probably would have said, "All right, well, that
Yeah.
we tried that. We got as much gas out of Fast and Furious as anyway. So let's move on here."
Exactly.
But it didn't die after that. So
No, it
what?
didn't. Refused to die, and it became it would not go gently into the junkyard night, and they decided, okay, yeah, still some gas left in this. Let's appeal more to the home market. And there was at one point. So by this point, Vin was definitely gone. Paul Walker had also had enough. And they're like, okay, maybe we'll do this as a lower budget thing. We'll do it like a direct to DVD, which they had success with other Universal franchises at the time. Bring It On. There's like a million American Pie sequels that nobody has ever heard of besides Eugene Levy. Um, so they tested that out for like a minute or two, but then they got, they started thinking, okay, maybe if we kind of go international and, diversify it a little bit, and we don't need to really bring any of those actors or characters along because the stars are theoretically the cars. So
Yeah.
they had
Brilliant,
an idea to,
brilliant decision there.
brilliant decision. Yeah, exactly. Um, and they enlisted Justin Lin, who had gotten some heat off of his first film, Better Luck Tomorrow, had just made Annapolis for Paramount, and they went to Tokyo and they decided to, let's toss all the mythology out there, just put Fast and Furious up there, make it a Fast and Furious movie, and then the idea could be if that succeeded, they could do, Fast and Furious Mexico City or Fast and Furious, Barcelona. And went forth with that plan and gave them, quite a bit of money to do that.
And Justin Lin is this kind of hypercharged figure that is kind of like, it seemed like built for this franchise, because he has a kind of edginess to him. He's not just a pure Holly. He's sort of an outsider figure, but with this real commitment to like doing things at a bigger level. How would you describe him? Uh,
I mean, I would describe Justin probably as like a superhuman of a filmmaker. I mean, this is a guy, by all accounts, when he is working on a project, he does not sleep. He is involved in absolutely every facet, going hard 22 hours a day, and really committed to a few things, few elements that made the Fast films what they became. I mean, Rob certainly started it, and Justin became, the creative architect of its explosion, um, by really doubling down on the authenticity of the car culture, by embracing diversity among the cast. And this was before diversity was, like a watchword in Hollywood. He was just doing it kind of naturally, organically. And his commitment to action. He really valued practical, in camera action and effect over VFX, um, more than any of his fellow kind of fast directors who would follow him, or a lot of people working in contemporary action cinema today. And because of that, and because he was able to get along with a lot of difficult personalities so well for so long, he skyrocketed that franchise right out of Tokyo Drift.
the so, and after that, instead of sticking with that plan, like we'll just clone Fast and Furious everywhere, and we'll
Hmm.
bring in different stars who are cheap for a different city. Everywhere he decides, um, it's been three films since the whole gang was together, but we are going to bring everyone together and we're going to do something bigger. The problem being that he had killed off one of the major characters in Tokyo Drift and everything. So they have to. Here's one of my favorite parts of the story as you tell it. So they have this problem that they've killed. He wants to bring everyone together. He has this vision of what the franchise means, and that it's about uh, family, as we'll get into.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but they have to they have to kind of hack the timeline here, and
Hmm.
he has this idea that you can bring back what was the character's name
It's Han, the character Han, played by Sung Kang.
who became a huge hit in got a huge following in Tokyo Drift. So they got to bring him back in. So Justin Lin gets the idea. Well, that that movie just happened in another continuum. That's not on the timeline of Fast and Furious. Just somewhere else in space. Maybe it's a different. Maybe it's a multiverse. It's yeah, before all these things existed. And to explain that, they get Vin Diesel made a short film that I've never seen, but you describe brilliantly. That it is like this short independent film that explains the broken timeline here. Tell me about that film.
Yeah, so I mean, so they killed off this great character who was like one of the highest testing characters in Universal history after these test screenings. Everybody loved Han. Interesting quick note, he was actually a character that was introduced in Justin Lin's first film, Better Luck Tomorrow, which makes that like retroactively part of the Fast verse. Anyways, they love him. Justin's approached about doing the fourth film. He's like, I don't know. I kind of want to go back to my independent roots. But then him and Sung, who are friends in real life, got to talking. Was like, well, maybe we could like figure out a way to bring back Han into it, and that would be kind of fun and interesting. So then they recontextualize the whole timeline. They retcon it, and so they get Vin to make this short film, Los Bandoleros, which if you have a
Vin
DVD,
directed this,
Vin
just to be
directed
clear.
this. Yes, he directed it. He had previously directed some shorts. He had directed a feature called Strays from 1997, which I guarantee almost no one listening has seen. It's interesting. And Los Bandoleros is very interesting too. So it's like set in between, it fills in this timeline gap of like how Vin's character met Han and their adventures in the Dominican Republic being hijackers, like kind of robbing the rich to feed the poor. And it's actually like as a piece of cinema, it's like a 20-minute film and it's very interesting. It's not like a fast movie at all. There's like some driving in cars, but there's no chases. There's lots of, love scenes. There's scenes in a prison that are like very political. And it's kind of a lovely, art house kind of movie that just happens to be about these fast and furious characters. And it made me wish that Vin Diesel directed more movies or,
So where was that shown, or where can you see Los
I'm
Bandoleros?
if you have a, DVD or Blu-ray of the fourth film, which is confusingly titled just Fast and Furious, no definite articles,
That
it is there as a bonus feature, and you can find it. I think it pops up on YouTube now and then before being taken down. If for the more adventurous Googlers out there who know that gray space of the internet, it's easy enough to find.
interesting. Um, so in Fast Four, so a lot of things happen. I want to get into the big thing for me is sort of the rise of the idea that these films, these street racing action films, are about family,
Mm-hmm.
and that this becomes the family uh, franchise. And how did that come about? How did
I think through like sheer force of Vin Diesel's will, in a way. Like, I mean,
that 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 was his inspiration?
I
That
mean,
this
maybe he kind of retroactively, appropriated that. The first film was all about like these, hoodlums on the LA streets who were their own found family. Like they hung out at this one house. They weren't related by blood except for Vin Diesel and Jordana Brewster's character, but they made their own family of misfits. But it was kind of, it was there and it was certainly a theme, but it wasn't as pronounced as it would later be. And actually, I think either the only person who says the word family in the first movie, or certainly the first person, is actually the detective character played by Ted Levine, who completely dropped out of the franchise after that. He calls it a family, and he's telling Paul Walker's character, "Don't get fooled by this family you're trying to fit into." But as it would go, and certainly for the fourth one, which is like a tale of revenge, and it's Vin Diesel and Paul Walker's characters reuniting after several years apart and several movies apart to avenge the death of Vin Diesel's on-screen girlfriend, played by Michelle Rodriguez. That's where the family element starts to really form. And it's like, I don't just have friends, I've got family, or like, you never turn your back on family. And the word family becomes a drinking game, unto itself, where you would get very plastered on Corona before 20 minutes in.
but there's something, every Hollywood film ends with the big a kiss or double wedding, and the idea of like people being close is not new, but there's something kind of radical about the family that they've earned, and a parallel suggested itself to me that I didn't
Hmm.
continue book with um, for Juggalo
Oh
society.
yeah, 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 yeah.
The idea, they they push very much the idea that that's all about family, and it's about that we're this cast of misfits and weirdos who no one wants and don't fit in anywhere, but for us, we are family, and we're coming in, and I see very much the same dynamic in Fast and Furious there with that. Did you ever hear any Juggalo references?
I never heard any Juggalo talk while talking with people for this, but that makes total sense. And
It's a similar time frame also.
it's
So
similar time frame too. And they congregate. Juggalos are very big in Detroit. Detroit is, Motor City. The Juggalos have that awful soda that they love. The Fast family has Corona.
Fago, yeah,
Fago, yeah, thank you.
yeah.
So there's perhaps more parallels than we're seeing here. But yeah, I mean, it is all about that, like, and they very, cannily appropriated that on their fan base. Like anybody out there in the world can be a member of the Fast family if you just, love cars and love these movies. Doesn't matter your relation. You're one big part of one big nos happy band of misfits.
And it gives the movies a kind of emotional resonance that isn't just fake Hollywood mawkishness. That is there's something real about these were actors who were kind of on the outside of Hollywood. It's a film series that Hollywood looks down on. That the world looks down on you for liking this.
Hmm,
So even
hmm.
as the series becomes more grandiose and impossibly large, it has this emotional core that survives through uh, 10 installments. That I think if you didn't have that, it wouldn't have gotten nearly as far.
No, not nearly. And I mean, you're right. Like so many films like of this size and scope, like, they end on a kiss, or they end with, one guy, climbing atop a pile of bad guys that he defeated. But these always end on a group hug kind of situation. Like
Yeah.
each film ends with the infamous Toretto family backyard barbecue, where every character gathers around, says grace, holds each other's hands, and shares a communal meal and an embrace. Like it is very much it is meant to bring that audience into that family and make you feel like you have a seat at the table of these guys' adventures.
And that you reference another thing that is unique about it, the saying grace. You talk about the role religion plays in these films, which I hadn't really thought of or known that, but they are very overtly not just spiritual, but actually religious, and speaking to that, and um, I I I wonder, I can't that creates a sense of authenticity and creates a bond with I think that is what the thing about the family is that it's authentic to the journey of these movies, to the characters, to the actors, and also to the audience that is watching it. And the religious element, um, I think, bonded in that way. You describe how much uh, Dom Toretto's cross, the
Mhm,
role,
mhm.
the almost mystical role that it plays within the film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the crucifix cross that Dom wears in every film has been on as much of a side journey as any one of the characters. Like actually, when I was, writing it out, I was like, this is actually quite insane. How what this what, all this stuff this cross has seen, this poor cross, if it could be personified.
And overtly writing his character as with all kinds of Jesus metaphor. You have a great quote from Justin Lin. Where he
Hmm.
said, trying to find it, where he says, if you you talk to Vin Diesel, you put to him the idea that your character is Jesus, and Vin is kind of okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. He is okay with that comparison.
The but it does give this this connection and authenticity. The and the other thing you talk about is you write this is going into fast when you get to Fast Six. Um, it finally tipped the franchise. You're talking about an element in there say that tipped the franchise in becoming Hollywood's first true blue collar blockbuster,
Hmm.
which is really fascinating. I mean, I hadn't thought of like when you think of the all the blockbusters out there. Very few of their characters come from a blue collar world, or if they do, it's like for the first scene they're shown like
Hmm.
working at their dumb job before they walk away from it to become super spies or something.
Yeah,
Um, but it's a movie that really lives in a blue collar world.
completely. I
Um,
mean, every they're always trying, no matter like how much money they steal or how many palatial places they visit, like luxurious places they visit, they're always gravitate back to this home in the Echo Park neighborhood of LA, which is very kind of working class neighborhood, and this just craftsman house that they all congregate toward. And but they start from the street, and they stay on the street pretty much. Like they're enlisted into all these missions or everything, but they don't have superpowers. They don't have super elite connections. They're just using their automotive know-how and crazy skills to do this. And there's a great quote that one of the production designers for, I think, the sixth film, and then worked with Justin Lin on a bunch of the others, said is like Justin always wanted to show the characters entering through the back room of a building. Like they were never going through the foyer, that magnificent foyer that like James Bond would go through
yeah,
with, huge chandeliers and drinks flowing. It was always where the help was going. And that was who these films, were speaking toward. The working class people who are going day in, day out and using nothing but their wits and the grease under their fingernails to get the job done.
that's right. And I can't think of Hollywood uh, taking any lesson from that success either. Either as
No,
much as it was
no.
new, it has not been replicated either. It's not where executives want to be.
No,
They,
no, it's not a comfortable space, unfortunately, even though these movies have shown it speaks to so many people.
the gosh, we have burned up. There's so much to talk about. We burned up a lot of time, but I want to kind of get to the. And we barely even talked about Canada yet, but I
Oh
need to
yeah,
get to that. But I just want to get to the what ultimately happens here. The stunts become bigger and more expensive, so you need to make a bigger. You need to grow an even bigger audience, even as this is becoming a truly global franchise with a global following. The budget is ballooning, so you need to bring in all kinds of stars and characters. And by the time you're at seven or eight, you have so many stars running around and characters and so many plot lines. Like I have to say, at that point when I've gone to see these movies, like when and they start talking about the plot, it might as well be in another language to me. I like
Yeah, yeah, fair,
uh,
fair.
I have no idea what they're and every single person who walks in the door, it's kind of like this moment of, oh, you're it's you. You're like there's so many portentous moments
Hmm.
built in, and these things become monsters. Uh, safe to say. So where does that take them all, and where does that leave us right now?
I mean, now we're in a kind of a very confusing and sticky situation, where, yeah, they have become so huge, and Fast X, which is the 10th film, uh, you know, reportedly cost upwards of $450 million for a production budget alone, which would make it one of the most expensive movies ever made. Because you have a dozen plus like A-listers in there.
I mean,
And
just you talk about just insert the politics of just what it takes to get Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel together, and how when they have a fight, no one can beat. The fights have to be arranged in a way so that both of them equally win, and there's
Mhm.
even a point system of how. Uh,
Yeah, there's a fight math, as it was put to me. They literally, the fight choreographers will sit down and tally. Okay, that's a punch there. That's a kick there. So that punch cancels that kick. So everything has to equal like zero by the end of it. So no one, and you'll see like in a fast. If you ever rewatch like a fast fight, there's no clear winner. The only winner is. Both of those stars' egos is something else, like a Deus Ex Machina happens and it ends the fight. So there's no clear winner. But yeah, so to wrangle all those egos, to wrangle all those paychecks, and at the same point, these movies are so geographically expansive, going to different parts of the world, not just like one city, but like three or four. These are the films that have like not only a second unit going, but often a third and a fourth unit of filming going simultaneously. All the VFX work, it just added up to so much. And the returns have been diminishing in North America, certainly. Internationally, in certain markets, it's still very strong. But it's all added up to like okay, how do we right size this? What makes economic sense to keep it going? And they haven't figured it out. And it's been 2 years plus now since the last movie. And that one ended on a very intentional cliffhanger, and fans are only going to be left on tenterhooks for so long before they move on to something else.
yeah, and you just feel with. I mean, I think at the last two CinemaCons ago,
Mm.
uh, Vin Diesel came to the stage and made, I think, the most grandiose announcement I've ever seen, talking about how Fast X was going to be in two parts, and I I mean, this was like Caesar coming to to Caesar's palace there, and I thought he was about to lead everybody into the streets to like go conquer the Bellagio or something like that.
I would have been right behind him. Yeah.
But cut to a year later, and Universal had their announcement, had their session, that there was no mention of the Fast franchise
No,
in
not a
any way or allusion or hint or anything like that.
no, not neither the words fast nor furious passed any of those executives'
Nor
lips at
Diesel.
CinemaCon, nor Diesel. No, no. So it is very much a open question. And then, a somewhat underreported facet of that is Vin Diesel has a legal problem ongoing right now, where he has been sued for sexual assault. Is a civil lawsuit. It was going to go to trial in August. It has been pushed, last I understand, to February, this coming February. So my understanding is until that matter is resolved one way or the other, there's not going to be any movement or green lighting or
Yeah,
fast. Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, it's hard to get the ball rolling on a $500 million film, which may be interrupted by uh, a sexual assault ruling against her star there.
Yeah, that would
That
be problematic.
the so much there, we have barely scratched it. There's so much in your book. There's a great, fantastic book everyone should
Oh,
read. But
thank you.
we are actually over time, and we haven't come to the big question that
Hmm.
we hold up the book one more time.
Oh yeah.
There.
Okay. So yeah, this is
Uh,
available everywhere on November 25th. Available for
Pre-order
pre-sale,
on Amazon.
pre-order, pre-order on Amazon, wherever you buy your books, and on
Welcome to.
store shelves at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Welcome to the family.
We haven't even talked about the death of Paul Walker, which was an
No, no,
incredible
yeah,
thing. We have
yeah,
Jason Statham joining the franchise. I mean, there's a lot in this book, and a lot, and um, it created the whole sort of supercharged uh universe before Marvel did this.
yeah. I
The
mean,
idea.
yeah, they were doing cinematic universes a year before the Avengers came out. So
The idea that you have a film series that collectively grows in weight and grows in importance as it goes on, and that it wasn't just as we said. You lose 30% with every sequel until you fade away. That this is
Hmm.
something that gets bigger and bigger and means more and more to its audience as you go on, was really invented by this series, and it's a fascinating saga. Um, and everyone pre-order it now on Amazon and read it all. But now we
Hmm.
come to the final question here, the
Yeah.
Rushfield Lunch, the big one, the Hollywood syllabus. We have our experts here, and this is your chance, Barry Hertz, to
Hmm.
give to what's your expertise to assign reading, viewing, walking, whatever you choose, to the people of the entertainment industry. Everyone is, all of Hollywood follows Rushfield Lunch and reads The Ankler, and this is a signed reading or viewing. You will be tested on this. It does count towards your final grade. So, Barry Hertz, what are your assignments for Hollywood?
Okay, I got a lot of assignments, but in the interest of time, I'll narrow it a little down. So one of the best books I read recently about, I feel, the industry, is the Lorne Michaels biography by Susan Morrison, um, which is just as much a history of Saturday Night Live as it is about modern comedy, big screen and small screen. And because of Lauren's history, offers itself a mini history of Canadian television at its beginning as well. I found like every paragraph was so deeply researched that it felt like she was like there was 2 months worth of research in every single graph there. It's amazing. I devoured it. I'm always someone who's thinking, as Canada's one of two top film critics at the moment. Patent pending, about the state of criticism today. Um, I just finished a book called Algorithm of the Night by A.S. Hamra, who is the film critic for N+1, which is a literary mag out of Brooklyn. This is a collection of his writings, film criticism over the past 3 years, I believe. And it is, I feel like, essential to understanding the role critics can or should play in today's landscape and what could be possible with film criticism. Um, and, on the flip side of that, to look back, I very much loved Matt Singer's book, Opposable Thumbs, How Siskel and Ebert Changed Movies Forever, which came out, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago, but still very, pertinent read for today's audience. And I'm going to give a shout out to, the Fast series is a very kind of, muscular, alpha male kind of series. And I've had to think a lot about where action cinema and that kind of, you know, tough guys doing tough things situation is going today. So I'm going to give three quick recos to The Last Action Heroes by Nick DeSemlin, who's the editor of Empire in the UK. This chronicles the Bruce Willis, Schwarzenegger, Chuck Norris, Stallone era, where they were all kind of fighting for supremacy. And then David Fincher, Mind Games, which is a great, incisive study of one of the finest, filmmakers we have today by my Toronto colleague Adam Naiman, who's a wonderful critic and great mind on there. And then I'm going to just because we didn't touch upon Canada too much, which is okay, other than Toronto's inferiority complex, which is always an evergreen topic of discussion. I'm just going to point to 5 films that from Canada right now that I think kind of paint a good picture of where Canadian cinema is today,
Mm.
and I think your audience would be well served by seeking all these titles out. Some of them they may have already done so. Blackberry by Matt Johnson, which
Great film.
came out about 2 years ago, comedy about the makers behind the phone that was killed by Apple. I Like Movies by Chandler Levac, which is a nostalgic look at a teenage movie store clerk who works at like a kind of blockbuster facsimile in late 90s suburban Toronto. Really lovely. Matt and Mara by Kazakh Radwanski, wonderful Toronto filmmaker who is takes his time deliberately, so very improv heavy, let's say. Takes him like 2-3 years to make a movie, but it's wonderful. This one also stars Matt Johnson, who made Blackberry, and co-stars Dara Campbell, who I think is Canada's most tremendous performer, an actress of her generation that deserves to be discovered far and wide. Uh, Universal Language by Matthew Rankin, which is set in Winnipeg and imagines Winnipeg as a kind of Persia by way of Western Canada metropolis of absurdity. It's hilarious. It's like nothing you've ever seen before, and it's very touching. And finally, Red Rooms by Pascal Plante, who is a Quebec filmmaker. This film is kind of like weirdly penetrated uh, American film circles a little bit because it is so timely and deeply disturbing and bizarre, and it's about essentially internet rabbit holes and what happens when we fall too deep inside of them, and the audience as a voyeur versus a participant. And it's tremendously disturbing and dark and weird, which is how I would kind of summarize Canadian cinema as a whole, if I had to. So that's my not so quick syllabus.
That's a fantastic list. It is it is mandatory. I will add on to it the Matt Johnson of Blackberry made my favorite film at the Toronto Festival this year.
That's right.
Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, which is soon to be released.
February 13th, they set a date. Neon has it in the US, so perfect Valentine's Day viewing.
Hilarious film, and said to be the most Toronto film ever made.
The easily the most Toronto film ever made, with a good portion of Blue Jays content, or Skydome content. Now that I think about it,
there was a scene in it that I really brought the whole World Series to life for me, because I was hoping so much that they would restage it, but alas,
I know. Yeah, they probably would have gotten thrown in jail for real for that. But yeah, also my favorite film of TIFF that you and I saw together. Yeah.
That was a great film. The book, once again, Welcome to the Family by Barry Hertz, the explosive story behind Fast and Furious. Everyone buy this immediately. So the time flew by. I didn't even scratch my list of questions for you here. So you'll have to come back and finish off the list another time.
Second lunch. Yeah, we'll do it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, Barry. We'll see you soon.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me.
Take care.